had some great teams, great interviews, past episodes, Pixelball, Art Blocks, Robotos, The Doge Pound, Oniforce, Crypto Dads, Lazy Lions, Supduck, Wall Street Bulls, Sappy Seals, and more. We also gave away an NFT. We got more NFT giveaways coming soon. Also, NFT merch. Today's episode looks rare. You've heard about it. The OpenSea competitor, huge volume yesterday. Exciting times ahead for NFT investors. We've got an interview with a man who invested in the company, and he's going to break down what's ahead for LooksRare. So don't go anywhere, everyone. This is the roadmap. All right, everyone, this is the roadmap, Benzinga's NFT show. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. I want to go ahead and bring on my co-host today. He joined us yesterday. The chat loved him. He's back once again. Benzinga's own Brian Moar. Brian, what's going on, buddy?
Oh, just shaking and making it. You know what I mean?
Of course. So, Brian, we had this huge news this week, right? We had the launch of LooksRare, a new NFT marketplace built by the community for the community, right? And I love that strategy. I love that motto. I'm so excited that this token is kicking off. It hit above $4 today, the Looks token. It's still moving. We got heavy volume on LooksRare, and what better way to dive into covering LooksRare than to talk to someone who knows firsthand all about this platform. What do you think?
Let's make it happen, Captain.
Of course. All right. Well, everyone out there, I want a big welcome. Joining us once again on the roadmap, we have huntXr. Hunter, welcome back to the roadmap. How are you doing today?
I'm amazing. Chris, great to see you again. And Brian, great to meet you. Excited to be here.
So Hunter, I'm a big fan of yours, and I also want to shout you out and give you a thanks. Anytime I'm looking for industry quote unquote expert, right? I turn to you and others. I can usually get a response from you pretty quick. I can get an article out. So you were part of my panel of NFT experts that gave, thoughts on 2021 and what's ahead in 2022, which we'll get into maybe later on in the interview. And also, sure. I messaged you about LooksRare because I saw that you were an investor, and I was able to get an article out yesterday on this. I'm going to go ahead and drop that in the chat. You guys can read this after today's interview. But Hunter, super excited to get into LooksRare. We've been talking about this, such a cool idea and platform, but wondering anyone who missed the previous interview with you on the roadmap or isn't familiar with you, can you just give everyone a little bit of background on how you got started in the NFT space?
Yeah, for sure. I started in late 2020, familiarizing myself around Top Shot. Had gotten a lot of, hype and a lot of eyes on it just because of, for the first time, people are actually going and spending serious real money on digital collectibles. And I would say through the end of that, seeing CryptoPunks and understanding what's happening, I was like, that's cool. But never really making the jump in. And in the beginning of 2021, with, Top Shop really, really ripping, I decided hey, let's just take some money and buy some stuff and play around. And I bought a Mooncat. I bought some, other little things. And I remember the first time I bought something, I just remember being whoa, I get it. And I would say within the first week of buying my first NFT, I had no money in my savings account. I had no retirement account anymore. I had no stock portfolio. I would say over 99% of my wealth was then in Ethereum and NFTs. It's just kind of been from there on buying, building projects, collecting, investing in companies, and really just making this whole leap into Web3 and really believing that, the next 5-10 years of our lives are truly going to be, integrated into the technology we're using today.
Love it. Yeah, that was something Brian and I hit on yesterday's episode of, being stock traders, right? And having a stock portfolio and then seeing the opportunity in NFTs and slowly just, moving some of that money from stocks over to NFTs. That's something I've done personally. I just think there's a greater opportunity there. And also, if I can actively follow the space and get into some of these projects, I just think it's also, it's a fun thing. It can be highly stressful. Yeah. There are some obvious risks, but it's great with the community and fun to be, in these projects along the way. You mentioned that you've invested in some NFT, projects and companies. So that leads in to huntXr, the big subject in the NFT world this week. So can you share with viewers a little bit of the background of how you became an early investor in huntXr?
Yeah, so I'm always looking for investment opportunities. And when this one came across my desk, it's actually funny. I was very hesitant at first. Just because I think when we start talking and looking at, what does the next year and what does the next 5 years, 10 years look like, I really do still believe that there will be no winner, like one single marketplace. It's going to be very fragmented. There's going to be a marketplace that's, gives back to its users. There's going to be one that's really good at showcasing stories of who's doing stuff. There's going to be aggregators. Everybody's going to do different stuff. And really what I like about huntXr and how I became an investor is I think the ethos right now within the industry is users get rewarded. If right now when you use Facebook and you generate them ad revenue, you don't get anything for that, right? You're the product. And with huntXr, you being kind of still the product, you're getting rewarded for being that person on there doing trading, and getting looks in return. And also when you say you're committed and stake your looks, the token that is the official token for huntXr, you're rewarded in hand for that as well, which I really, really like. I also like the fact that the team was really putting an emphasis on the fact that communication needed to be better than OpenSea. They wanted to put an emphasis on uptime, and really kind of through the conversation of how does this change the game instead of hey, is this just another marketplace? That's really when I was like, look, I'm really happy to be part of this and step in and put my money where my mouth is, saying, hey, OpenSea needs to make some changes here.
Good points.
Love it. All right, Brian, you're up here.
Yeah. So tell us about the huntXr site. What are some of the best features that you would want to point out to your users, or any cool ones that you can think of?
I would say off the bat, one that has actually on OpenSea held back the average investor has been the inability to make a collection-wide bid. And this has really kind of favored the people that either have the technical ability to write a script or a bot that does this, or have the funds to go and do this. So, there was kind of a skill technical wall for people who are getting in who said, I don't care which one it is, but I want to have every single World of Women that's 1 ETH or under. With huntXr, they're noticing that, hey, people are doing that, so let's add that ability. You can bid on every single doodle. You can bid on every single World of Women. And if somebody's like, hey, I want that bid, great. This actually is even better for the marketplace and for these collections because there's a more realistic floor. And when I say that, it means, hey, when I look and see that the floor in OpenSea is 0.1 for something, but there's only 2 listed at 2 offers at 0.1, and then it just drops off. It's not a real floor. So they're actually adding more liquidity to the market, which we've been missing. I would say by far that is the best feature that they have right now. They have other features coming, like making offers based on trait. So let's say you want to make an offer on all the trippy apes. You can go and do that with huntXr. If you want to go make an offer on all of the happy face doodles, you can go do that. It's 1 click. and it's super easy. And those are the things that I think LooksRare is trying to add to, even the playing field for everybody in the NFT space.
Yeah. So can you point out some major differences between LooksRare and OpenSea?
I mean, there are a lot. Like fundamentally, like if we want to go all the way down to like the core, and this is another reason that I wanted to be, a backer here, is actually the way they're technically built. OpenSea uses like a single contract that kind of runs the entire thing. They can't add collection offers without really going to the core and building it all from the ground up. Where LooksRare is actually like this whole web of different smart contracts. And there's a basis one in the middle, this middle node that allows all these other contracts to either be added on or adjust or change. And that means, like, let's say, we want to add a feature that means you can offer, like, let's just take the collection offer. Let's say you want to buy the lowest listed item on every single, like these 5 collections. You can add that. You can add sweeping mechanisms. Awesome. You can add alert mechanisms. You can add all these different little features. And I'm trying not to like give too much away here, but like there's features that can always be added. And that's where, like, when you look at OpenSea, they've done a really great job. I love the people building it. Alexander at OpenSea is one of the greatest and smartest and nicest people I've ever met. But their core technology does need to, I think, address some things to be able to compete with LooksRare.
Awesome. Those are some great points. One tool I used a lot when I was doing a lot more of my altcoin trading was Bogged Finance and PooCoin tool app.
Sure.
And you mentioned that having, the not really limit sells, but kind of like the alerts and finding, spikes and prices, all that stuff. So I see how that incorporated to NFTs is going to be a really big advantage for people trading and going in and out, not just the average, daily collector or something. But speaking of like going to the altcoins, why don't you tell us a little bit more about the Looks token and how people can get it and what it's used for?
Well, first off, I did see a comment come in about LooksRare. There's like a looksrare.com and a looksrare.xyz. The official site is looksrare.org. So I know some people are just typing in .com. Just so if they want to go check the site out.
There's a lot of scams out there, so make sure you are on the right URL for sure.
So first and foremost, just want to make sure people are going in the right place, being safe. I think Looks, the token, is something that the community's been screaming about from OpenSea for a while, right? Like, and I will play the devil's advocate here. Like, not everybody isn't like, I don't think every marketplace needs to go and drop, or like every piece of software or interface that we're using in Web3 has to go do a token. I think there's like users expect it, but there needs to be like real utility instead of like, here's some free money. Where LooksRare, when I saw that the token like actually had utility, that's when I went and said, SOS was like, here's a token and we're gonna do some stuff with it down the road. This is a token right now that like you can go stake and it earns you fees. Like there's real utility, there's real use case for it, and it works. I think there was somebody who bought like $200 worth of Looks, staked it, and then they got like $3 in rewards. And like, that's one day. So technically, like when you're thinking about investments, that's actually a pretty decent investment to get, a 1%, 2% return the first day. And right now, I think the APY is like, 800%. Your returns are really serious here. And because this is all based on volume, when we talk about for users, by the users, users getting rewarded, if you were to buy and trade on Looks, you actually accrue fees if you're trading on, verified, collections. Let's say you earn some Looks, then go stake it. There's this like cycle of like users getting rewarded for, actively using the site, and then being rewarded for saying, hey, I'm going to stake and collect fees, which I really, really, really am behind. Like the fact that there's utility. It is a little confusing, but ideally, like the Looks token is just this is kind of like the bloodstream for how the reward system works with huntXr.
Gotcha.
Awesome. So Hunter, looks rare. We talked about it yesterday. We're talking about it again today. It's the trending topic out there for NFTs. So, I would label it an early success, right? So my question for you is, were you and, some of the other investors, were you surprised at this level of success? Did it, outdo expectations, or was this kind of the bar that was set by the launchers here?
So Dingaling is probably one of the most public. This is something he's been working on for a long time. And for those who don't know who Dingaling is, he's huge Top Shot collector, a huge Bored Ape Yacht Club collector, Pixel Vault. Like, he usually, I would say, for the big projects, is usually the #1 holder. He's somebody who I really respect, and not just because he has money and he's bought stuff, but because from a fundamentals, investment, and functionality perspective, he really does have a great mind for things. So he was, knowing that he's somewhat at the helm of this, right? It's a distributed anonymous team, was kind of like a check mark saying like, hey, I feel safe. Somebody like him is not going to ruin the reputation here. As far as like the success that it's had so far, I'm actually a little surprised by the level of trading that's happening. Obviously, there's been discussion around like the volume. That's like it's expected, right? Where if there's a reward for participating in something and you're Incentivized, like, people are gonna do it. I was not expecting this level though. This was something I thought would like play out over 3-4 months, and I'd be like, great. Looks like we're going to make a return here. But like watching yesterday, how the volume has, increased, and watching the token price, it really has outperformed my expectations. And I'm really, really excited for, knowing that team didn't even celebrate. No, I've yet to see anybody from the, the actual team that's building it be excited. They've just been like, we're still building, and great. Like, we launched, like, continue. That's a great sign for me as an investor, to know that, this wasn't like, oh, we've made money. Like, we just got to wait and then we can cash out. Like, they're here to win, like in the sense of like, we're going to keep building, we're going to keep providing. And like in 3 years, we want users to still be here trading, volume, being incentivized, being rewarded for trading. And that makes me super excited.
That's awesome. Great insight there, on the continued building of the project, and also having that, high bar kind of set from the beginning. That was kind of why I wanted to ask that, because some of these projects come along, they have either really high expectations or really low expectations, and it can lead to a different level of, success. So you already hit on several points, taking on OpenSea, but that's one of the big storylines here, right? And OpenSea has been dominant in the space. They're well known. I don't know if I would say, well respected by everyone. There's a lot of different opinions out there.
They deserve our respect, though, right?
Yeah.
Like, and that's one thing, like, in the whole scheme. And like, I love that you said like there's expectations and what we all think about OpenSea. I don't think it should be we hate OpenSea. I think there's things that we wish were different. But OpenSea in the history of NFTs has played a huge part.
Yeah.
And they do deserve a round of applause for that. And as far as like expectations go, like, I don't think anybody should expect huntXr to be like the de facto #1 marketplace. Like, even though we've seen a lot of volume here, for people to make that switch over, I think it's going to take time. And I think this is like a process, and over weeks and months, we'll see people kind of play around and see what they like, and we'll watch huntXr add more features. We're going to see OpenSea definitely come back swinging in some ways, I believe, from just watching. And I think there's things you can pick up, but I also think OpenSea is not asleep at the wheel. I really think OpenSea has been deploying money and resources and working heavily behind the scenes to come out with something. So I think there's really no like, hey, this is how it's going to play out. It's really going to come down to like, how does this kind of like, I wouldn't say war, that's not the word, but like, how does this kind of, economy play out between all these different marketplaces and their different strategies?
Love that, Hunter. Great insights again. And, OpenSea led the way. And I like how, LooksRare, and yourself, you're complimenting them, but then also adding some features that the community has been asking for, right? That was part of the LooksRare platform, is really, built on the community. So we do have this kind of elephant in the room, right? We had OpenSea. Now we have LooksRare. And we are getting an NFT marketplace from Coinbase, who's been a leader in the cryptocurrency world. I've asked you about this before, but if you want to share with viewers just a little bit of thoughts on what Coinbase's launch into NFTs could mean, and how there's room for multiple marketplaces for NFTs.
OpenSea again has done a really good job at kind of being like the place to do business with NFTs. And they've really been the sister or brother to Coinbase, who's done the same thing with buying crypto. And they've made it super easy. They've made it intuitive. It does look good, and it's really easy to know. Like, I click here, I click buy, I'm done. I own an NFT. Coinbase has an advantage over everybody, even OpenSea, and the fact that they have tens of millions of users. And they have tens of millions of people on their email list, and they know these people's information. They know how much crypto they own, and they can they can either customize that, what they're showing their users, knowing like, hey, you have $10 million. Let me show you Bored Ape Doodles and all these really expensive projects. They can do stuff like that. But their cost of acquisition for customers is zero. Right? They already have the customers. And that's when you're looking at the next, where's the next kind of phase? And when I look for investing, it's like, how do I get the next million people in? LooksRare has a serious issue there. They're not hey, you just click buy and you're done. You have to have a MetaMask. You need to understand how to find the collection. With Coinbase, it's going to be, I think, the most dumbed down, plain simple, no frills. There's not going to be an emphasis on analytics. There's not going to be an emphasis on hey, you can sweep the floor. It's going to be, you click here. This is cool. Here's the story. Buy. That's where I think they're going to just dominate, though, because it'll be easy for, the onboarding and the starting. And then people, I think, will graduate from there and go different places, but they're really just going to run the same playbook back for what they did with Bitcoin and Ethereum and do it with NFTs.
Yeah, definitely. We've all been watching and waiting for Coinbase. I'm excited to see what features they offer. But yeah, I mean, I've wrote about it at length here at Benzinga. They had over 2.5 million, now over 3 million people on that wait list for the marketplace. So like you said, customer acquisition, so important in the space, and they have that commanding lead with that wait list already, over 3 million people ready to go. And a lot of them already have crypto in that wallet, right? So like you said, they don't have to worry about all these other things.
That's what I'm saying. Let's take the same person off the street. If I tell them, hey, here's LooksRare, a new marketplace, you should go buy an NFT. And they don't, they're like, hey, I have some crypto in my Coinbase account. Now what? All right, well, you got to download MetaMask. You download MetaMask. Now you got to transfer ETH from your Coinbase account to your MetaMask. All right, now you need to sign and you authorize this collection. Blah, blah, blah. With Coinbase, take the same person. Hey, you want to buy an NFT? Here's what an NFT is. Go to Coinbase. Great. You click buy. Removing friction from the equation is so important in this space, and making it so, with Top Shot, all I did was click buy, enter credit card, done.
Yep, credit card. That was so important.
Coinbase will have the same advantage. But I do still think people will graduate from Coinbase at some point. The same way they have with, altcoin trading and Bitcoin trading. Before the show, talking with Brian, he wasn't using Coinbase as his hey, I'm trading on a daily basis. I'm not going to use, the standard Coinbase. You might go to pro.coinbase, or you might use a different, mechanism for analytics and all this stuff. But I do think it's the lowest and easiest barrier into NFTs when it comes out.
Definitely. So, we talked about the Looks token. And you know, there's a lot of, you know, conversation about that. And, you know, again, could call that a success, right? The token's up. You're rewarding the community. There's been kind of a call for, you know, OpenSea to launch a token. We have Coinbase coming. So this is more of an opinion question, Hunter. You know,
Sure.
I know you don't have any insight, but Coinbase and OpenSea, I mean, in your opinion, do you think that they launch tokens in the future to reward community members?
You know, it's a really good question, actually. Coinbase, no. I'm going to go strong no there. And they're really not incentivized, right? They're a publicly held company. I can't see them doing it. I'm sure they've had this convo, right? Like I'm positive they had this convo. And I think it just outweighs them financially to keep the fees, keep it for themselves. You know, if they came out with a token, I'd be absolutely blown away. I mean, their token is coin on the NASDAQ. That's their token. I would say with OpenSea, I'm leaning towards a possible yes. You know, I would say I'm like 51% leaning like they do come out with something, but I don't think it's for another year and a half, like maybe even 2 years out. I think OpenSea again is really in you know, behind the scenes, pulling a Larva Labs, keeping their mouths shut, and just, you know, kind of saying wait until these people see what we've been working on. Yeah, I do think they will in some kind of capacity. And I think they're just being quiet about it. And the reason I think they're being quiet about it, and the reason, you know, I think anybody could come up here and say yes or no. But the real reason I think we haven't heard anything is for our own benefit, right? If they came out and said, yeah, we're going to do a token, or yeah, we hear you, we believe in the ethos, let me tell you something. You would be seeing incredible fake trading happening on OpenSea for the next until it happened. You would see so much happening where people are just trying to get, hey, I want volume. And that way, when they come out this token, I'm rewarded exponentially. We saw this happen with MetaMask when it was just even teased in a podcast when one of the MetaMask founders went on and said, yeah, probably might happen. Like it was just a little bit of that. And he's like, you probably want to have 3 swaps. Let me tell you something. In those 3 days, the number of MetaMask swaps was incredible, with people gamifying it on ETH, with people even going to Polygon and just saying, I'm going to swap 8 times in Polygon on 100 different accounts. I mean, there were people spending days of their lives just making new wallets and doing swaps. If you saw, if there was even a hint of a coin from OpenSea, you would see just incredible schemes being laid out.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's why OpenSea has been incredibly quiet. And it's for our own good and the users and the average users' own good that they're being quiet. So again, I have no hate for OpenSea. I think if you really read between the lines of what they're doing, there's a reason for it. Instead of everybody just throwing hate and getting upset, if you step back, look big picture, listen to kind of what I just said, it makes sense. Like that's why I lean towards, yeah, there's probably a token coming.
Yeah, no, love it. Love that insight, Hunter. Again, for anyone out there watching, you know, that's just purely opinion here. Just providing,
not financial advice. Don't
Hunter's
go trade a whole bunch of...
not financial advice, but I think it's important to address, and I think that, you know, highlights the success of the Lux token, you know, these past couple days too, because, you know, had LuxRare not been successful, or that token, you know, not be trading where it is today, maybe that's, you know, more reason for OpenSea not to launch a token right away. So I think maybe if they weren't already planning on it or thinking about it, it's got to be at least in their minds right now. So Hunter, as I mentioned, a successful launch of LuxRare, you know, a lot of positive mentions. I did see one negative item yesterday, and I just kind of wanted your thoughts on this. It's something we've seen in NFTs before. It is kind of these wash sales, right? And we got a lot at the end of the year for tax purposes, you know, trading between wallets and different things. But with LooksRare having the Looks token and rewarding users to buy and sell. There was some, threads created on Twitter, right, of showing different transactions of kind of these wash sales just to get rewarded with more Looks token. So my question for you is, how can LooksRare kind of address this going forward to prevent this from being, a huge issue that turns people off?
Well, I think at the root of what's happening with these sales, right? Those people who are doing these wash sales are paying a 2% fee. So if they trade 1,000, if they sell themselves a 500 ETH, NFT, they're in theory between those two wallets creating 1,000 ETH worth of sales. And so they're technically paying, that 2% fee there, and that 2% fee of 20 ETH is going to actually to everybody else who's staking. And I do get there's two sides of this. You can take the very like, hey, this is we're rewarding the wrong people here, but at the same time, like people like me who bought on this, the open market, and I bought at $3, I bought $20,000 worth of looks. That $20,000 is getting not only APY and reward and looks, but at the end of every day, I'm getting, a percentage of that, those millions of dollars in fees that they're accruing. And so really, like, even though I didn't trade at all yesterday, let's say like I just get paid for holding looks. That's great. And I think that's one way to look at it. But I do agree, like there is a incentive to these people to go wash trade. That incentive will go away as volume increases. And I think today being the second day, we're probably going to see a lot of the people that were like, oh, wait, you can make money wash trading, go and join it. You don't know how many people are wash trading. You don't know how much volume there is. And I think there's going to be days where the wash traders lose money. And I think today could be a day where we see a lot of people coming in, and it's going to kind of burn some of them. So I think it's kind of hey, there's a cookie on the stove. You can try to grab it, but you might get burned grabbing it kind of, ordeal. I think today you'll probably see the first wash traders get burned because I do think we saw a lot of people coming in. I think we also saw a lot of organic volume coming in today. And if you actually look at the math behind it, there's a actual level where any volume over that is negative cost to the wash traders. So the last I looked, I think we were approaching that volume actually at some point today. And once we go over that, well, they're losing money. And it's to our benefit again to just be holding looks and staking it. But this is it's just part of like the economics of it. But it's also why people are incentivized to use LooksRare. Like if I go and trade, I get rewarded for it. I think I saw that like Dingaling bought, I think he bought an ape or something yesterday, spent 67 ETH, and he got almost $4,000 in looks just for making that purchase. So he got essentially a little bit over an ETH discount just for using LooksRare. And then he went and staked it, I think, and now he's earning fees and looks just by staking from that. And if you compound that over time, well, technically, it's possible to say that ape was 10, 15, 20% off just because he bought it on LooksRare.
And he did. Okay, you answered that. I was going to say he did.
Yeah, no, he did. Like, that's like the actual economics of his purchase yesterday. Gotcha. 67 ETH purchase. He got $4,000 about and he looks back from that purchase. And now he's earning fees and looks off of that looks that he got.
Oh, awesome. That's awesome. One thing I was just looking up. Sorry, I had to jump off my a few times. My puppy started getting in something he shouldn't have, and now I found 2 of his puppy teeth just laying on the table. So he was definitely chewing on something. But one thing I wanted to bring up that was interesting. You said that like Coinbase or OpenSea don't really need their own token. You said Coinbase has its own token, which is pretty much its stock. Which is, you're right. That one thing that they did do is they did help, they backed and funded and helped develop the USDC coin, which is what they use for all of their transactional purposes for, your fiat to crypto.
Sure.
And so there's really no point for them to really have a coin. I wanted to bring up, and I 100% agree that, you know, if they say something about OpenSea, if they say something about having a token, you're going to have all these scams and all this nonsense come up. But then you're like, well, what's the point in actually having the token if they have the 2% fee? So hopefully it is something interesting, and I am looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, if you're gonna have a token, there needs to be like real like utility behind that token. I think ENS did a great job, right? Like that you can steer the direction of ENS with that. It's a voting mechanism. And it has, you know, ability to actually be converted into ETH or USD, which is great. But there's real value to that, and the market will value that. Right now, it's valued at like what, $22 or $25. And with huntXr, like there's real utility to it. You can stake it, earn looks, and earn fees. OpenSea would have to do something different, like, or similar. Like they just say, hey, half the fees go to the public. Or something. That would be something. But I do think like the real issue here is OpenSea can do that, and you know, now like there has to be a real differentiator there. Because I think the time to do it was like whoever's first is first, great. But I kind of feel like now they need to, if they're going to come up with a token, there needs to be something really, really like kind of groundbreaking.
Yeah, they define the utility for it. I mean, you can't just say, here's a token, and then you have that. Then it's a whole world of different securities, taxes, all that. I mean, it's just a nightmare. So it has to be.
But Brian, like what I look for as, you know, an active user in the space, and my philosophy on crypto is that, right, like we saw what huntXr did. That becomes kind of like if you're, you know, a marketplace, users should be rewarded. Now that's the standard. What I would hope OpenSea does is says, wow, that's a really cool use for a token. Great. Like we could do that. But here's a way crazier, like, you know, out of right field idea for how you can utilize a token that nobody's ever done before. And we're really smart. We came out with it. If they did that, oh my God, like that would be phenomenal. And that's kind of like what I look for when I'm like, hey, who's an innovator and not just a copier and replicator? Because that shows like real like prowess. And that's why like I like Wolf Game. Like they weren't a replicator. They changed the game. You know, that's why I like Pixel Vault. They changed the game. huntXr kind of changing the game. Like, and I think there's more to come that will like really flip how we look at marketplaces in this industry on their head. And there's lots of other things happening, but that's kind of like the exciting part of where we are. Instead of like, hey, OpenSea is just going to copy, can they innovate?
Yeah. Well, I'll just how about we just move to, since you said innovation and, you know, looking to the future, what are some things that we can expect from Looks and huntXr in the future that you can maybe disclose if possible?
I would say an emphasis on, well, so the big thing here is that like there's a public bug tracker, there's feedback from the customers, and that's one area that I like, is that they were like, hey, whatever the people complain about the most first, that's where we'll put, like, instead of just saying like, hey, you want analytics, hey, you want this, hey, you want this, and shoving it down people's throats, they were like, let's launch pretty bare bones, let's focus on like making sure it works, get a solid foundation, and then build off of that. Like I think that was also part of like the narrative, like listening and looking at what they're doing. It was like, all right, they're not trying to like market, like, you know, technology push. It's more of a pull, like, hey, people want this. Great. Let's give it to them. So like analytics are a big thing probably in the future, as well as like trading tools and utility, like the collection offer. You'll see more stuff like that definitely in the future.
Awesome. So you've been behind a couple NFT collections and projects, and you've launched your own NFT and invested in a whole ton of them. Are there any ones that you're excited about, or any new ones that you have in the future? Anything you want to hint at?
Yeah. So, you know, Chris, with your article, I think I touched on a couple. The one that, you know, today with you know, just watching World of Women take off on the news, of, you know, who they have now kind of like at the helm, and being a fully open source licensable NFT for the IP. That one's played out. I think that one still has some legs on it. Again, none of this is like financial advice. I'm just kind of opinionating on like where where I see some of these collections kind of like having, you know, upside in the sense of like they're going to be more popular. I think we'll also see Wolf Games still continue to really innovate in kind of how we look at the game, you know, play to earn gaming at like a Farmville level. Like, hey, there's risk, there's reward, you can get stuff that's actually worth money. I see somebody who commented Fluff World. Yes, I agree. Fluff World has a lot happening there. I went to a Fluff World party in Miami that blew my mind, where they had like an AI rapper perform for it. It was like 30 seconds, but it was like, whoa, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I think Nuclear Nerds is one that I'm super, super interested on.
Okay.
You know, again, all of this I own. So, you know, full disclosure, I am kind of talking my bag. But Nuclear Nerds is held, you know, being led at the helm by Simon Goldberg, who, you know, is just really, really just a smart guy. A lot of experience in the media world here in Hollywood. And I think they have a really, really, really good like roadmap ahead of them and how they're thinking. And they're kind of taking the playbook from Pixel Vault. So I'm excited for that. Doodles is an obvious one, right? We've seen execution there. I think, you know, when it comes down to how I analyze NFTs and who's doing well, and you know, how their like future should be kind of evaluated. I look at one, like, is an NFT, can I get behind it for the art or whatever it's supposed to represent? But then it's community, it's authenticity, and it's creativity. If it has like those three things going for it, and the people running it are executors, where I know if I turn my back on them and came back in 2 weeks, they would be far ahead of where they were. I will purchase and invest and put my money behind that kind of project. Right now, I think we're getting a lot of false promises from people. I think there's a lot of people just saying, hey, roadmap, hey, token, hey, this. And there isn't really any substance behind the team just saying, I'm motivated by money. The teams that are motivated and say, I'm here to build. I don't care what the price of ETH is. I don't care how much I make out of this. I just want to build and create, and this is a dream. I will fully support that. And that's why I like people like Danny Cole, with Creature World, who I sat in a cafe with him in Brooklyn, and it was like somebody's flipping a switch between our world and his own world in his mind, where he was just telling me like, this is what the future looks like, and this is what I want Creature World to be. Stuff like that is really where I get amped up and get excited to invest within NFTs.
Hell yeah.
Awesome. Love it. So Hunter, you know, one of the questions I asked for the 2022 predictions was, you know, what's a wild prediction, right? I forgot how I phrased it now, but what's a wild prediction for 2022? And got a difference of opinions from people, but the one that you threw out was 2022 might be the year a lot of people take very real losses and a lot of projects finally get sent to the graveyard. So not to put you too much on the spot here, Hunter, I just loved what you said about, you know, what you look for in projects to get behind them. But for new people to the NFT space, what are some things that they can, you know, look for themselves to make sure they're not getting into these projects that, you know, as you say, could go to the graveyard in 2022?
If a project is emphasizing the return you will get, that is a red flag.
Yes.
Like
gonna clip that.
A real community is not based on, hey, we're gonna make money. Let's be real and blunt about that. I've had some people even disagree with me on stage at NFT NYC during our panel and say, you're wrong. And I still wholeheartedly believe that a real community is not formed on financial motivation, right? The second the money is gone, the community is gone, the project's gone, it's gone. I think also actions, right? Like if you can actively see a team who's saying like, hey, this is our project, and they're executing and they're like providing real, like, instead of just hype. You know, we've seen some projects that come out with this amazing 1-minute animated video and promise all this stuff, but there's no real, like, you know, backing to it. That's a red flag. If you get in a Discord and it's a 1 week old project and it has 200,000 people in the Discord and the Twitter has 200,000 followers, that's a red flag.
Yes, sir.
You know, if you see everybody commenting and you get DMs about it, and it's like, hey, like I have to complete an invite contest for the Discord and invite 5 people. That's a red flag. You really want just like organic, good, like, hey, like we're really excited on this. We've been working a long time, and like be able to see like, hey, these people really have been working on this a long time and they really care and they're not here for the money. And the community is like not just talking about floor prices. Like you just want people that care about the project. And when you see a roadmap, know that the roadmap is feasible, even if it is like, oh, like that's a really hard roadmap. Can the creators of that project execute on it? If I came out for a roadmap and it said that I'm going to launch a music label and we're going to do a world tour within the next 18 months, well, I might think I can do that, but the reality of it is I have no experience in the music industry. I'm starting to dabble in it, but I can't go do that. Like, I think somebody could look at my background, see my LinkedIn, see what I talk about, understand kind of like my background, be like, this guy cannot do a world tour in the next 18 months. And there's nobody on his team that knows anything about doing a world tour. So right off the bat, that should be like a huge red flag. Things like that are kind of like the mentality that you need to have. I think everybody also needs to think like, hey, like we all watch Shark Tank. All of those investors are thinking in the mentality of how can I pick this apart? Where are my biggest concerns instead of, oh, price can go up here. And I think when you take that emotional backstep and stop thinking about money and like, hey, money has to go up, this has to go up, everybody's saying it can go up, and you start thinking to yourself, okay, if I spend 1 ETH on this, am I happy with the art? Let's say this all disappears. And if you're like, hey, I just want for the art, great, go buy it. But if you're thinking of this as a financial investment, just pick it apart. Try to answer questions. If there's something you can't answer, talk to somebody or like think around, but like, I think that's what will save you the most money. And then the last thing from this rant is whenever somebody new gets into NFTs and they ask me, what's the best thing to buy right now? What should I do? Where should I spend my money? I always tell them the best thing you can do and the best first purchase is a notebook. And so many people get upset with me because they're like, take your dad comment and your dad joke and go away. But the reality of it is you will save so much money by spending $10 on a notebook and a pen and sitting in front of your computer and just watching floors, watching the tactics that are being deployed by different projects and what's working, what isn't, what's the market doing, looking at ETH, looking at different tokens, like everything that's happening in the marketplace. And after like 2 weeks, you should be able to sit back. You'll see a project, you'll be looking at a floor and be like, wait, that's underpriced. And the second you are like, wait, I didn't see somebody say something and I'm like, oh, I like their opinion. The second you're making your own opinions and having your own conviction, that's when you should feel comfortable buying something instead of, whoa, I'm seeing all these people make money off of apes. Let me go buy one. Because right now, if somebody came in, they're like, Hunter, I have $200,000. Should I buy an ape? I would tell them, no, not a chance. Don't buy an ape right now. If you're just starting out and you're trying to get returns, go buy, like, I'd be like, go buy a doodle, go buy a World of Women, go buy some Wolf Game. And like, because there's more upside there. And you can look at the market and see, hey, these are probably undervalued based on everything else that's happening around us.
Yeah.
I just urge anybody listening right now that they delay that, pause it, educate themselves, then jump in. I mean, my story started with me having 3 months, 4 months of just watching before I went crazy. And then like, even then after those 4 months, I still got burned really bad in the beginning. Like I was close to going like fully bankrupt out of the game, because, I hadn't fully learned yet and I tried to get too aggressive. And that made me even, go harder into the education side of spending nights sleeplessly learning and educating, seeing what's happening until I was like, wait, I can finally execute at the highest level without making those mistakes.
Those are good points. Yeah.
Hunter, love this. This has been great. Again, the roadmap here, we try to provide, education, insights into NFTs. And I mean, you just shared some great education. I love the notebook comment. Whether people want to criticize you for it, that's their own business. But I think, taking notes and following along, I think is a good approach. Last topic here before we're running out of time here. This has been great. You can always tell an interview is going so well when you lose track of time, and next thing you know, the show's supposed to end. I want to talk about celebrities for a minute. That was another question I asked you for the 2022 predictions, and you said that you kind of saw the celebrities getting into NFTs slowing down. You named a couple people as maybe doubling down, like Gary Vee, Shaq. But then your bold prediction was LeBron James getting into NFTs. We haven't seen that yet, but in the first 12 days of the year, we have seen Eminem and Eva Longoria get into NFTs. So I guess I'd ask you the same thing. Are you sticking with that, LeBron, not so-called prediction, but maybe LeBron getting in? And are you surprised at Eminem and Eva Longoria getting into NFTs here early in 2022?
I'm not. I'm not surprised by those two getting in. I think LeBron's still, like, when we look at the scheme of things, right? I think the number ones in their industries, whether it's music, sports, entertainment, are going to make leaps into this space, right? It would be wild to see them not. And I think LeBron's a very smart businessman. I think he'll probably take longer than most, because it's a $1 billion brand, and it's going to be in probably some collaboration with Nike. And when they figure out what it is and what the utility behind it is and how to do it as safe as possible, like when I worked with Shaq, the biggest thing there was we need to do this in a way that is sustainable and isn't like, hey, Shaq came in, thank you, bye. Like, the entire time we were having that conversation was, look, I don't want to hurt anybody. I want this to be for the people. I want to do good. I want people to walk away saying, wow, Shaq was really thoughtful in his process, because he really does care. And that was when it kind of clicked for me is, hey, there's celebrities, and I see this happening. I've listened to people who are working on projects that I'm helping with, and they're working with celebrities, and the celebrities on a freaking beach in Tulum, and they're like, let me know when the ETH hits my wallet. And they're like, we can't even get their feedback on the art. And so when I hear that, I'm like, I don't want to be within 10 miles of that, and I don't want to touch that. I think there's people like LeBron. I think there's very smart business people that are going to say, look, let me jump into this. Let me provide real value, real community, creation for the people that are my fans. And I still think LeBron will do it. Additional predictions since the last 12 days. I do know I've learned of a couple in the last week or so. So I can't say those.
Yeah, don't disclose if you get in trouble here. But we're always looking for alpha, but we don't want to get you in trouble.
We got your back. It's fine.
I have to stay with like my original answer just for like to play it safe. Like I do think we'll see music and sports really, really take off because there's some playbooks out there. And I think if they kind of follow the Gary Vee providing tons of value and utility to their community and the people that pick up on this, like maybe this is better than even talking about like who can do it. But I think if you're a fan of somebody and you see somebody that you're a fan of come out with a NFT, you're probably going to want to make sure that they're talking about like, hey, this is what you can get out of it. And it's not just like, hey, you get a live stream to a concert. Like it should be something that like Gary's doing
worthwhile,
like a real fest, like a conference, and there's real utility, and like there's tens of thousands of dollars worth of value there. And it shouldn't just be, hey, I'm going to send you an autographed NFT and that's it. There should be like lots of different things happening, or like a really good cause behind it. That's what makes me want to buy something. I can't talk about Meek Mill. Sorry, I wish I could.
Well, there's also on that side. There's also like just for art. Like I'm a big fan of Justin Roiland, the guy who created Rick and Morty, and I have 2 of his NFTs. He did an art release and stuff like that before OpenSea went off. But I don't really care about the value or if it goes up in value. I want it because I like his art and I like
And I think people also need to realize that this isn't always a financial thing. Like I've bought pieces that, you know, I've walked away, I sat down and I was like, dude, like you just lost so much money, like a significant amount of money. And I was like, who cares? Like I like it. Like, and I understand not everybody can have that position, but there are people and there are times where you're just like, look, I absolutely love Justin. I want to own a piece. I love Rick and Morty. It makes me laugh and it's a part of my life. And I want to have it in my wallet and put it on my wall. Buy it. Like, there's nothing wrong with you. Don't let anybody shame you and be like, oh, you bought that? Like, really, like, there are times here where you just buy something because you love it. And there should be no shame in that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Hunter, last question here. It's a follow-up to the celebrity angle, and you also mentioned, you know, sports and music. There is this big game happening in February, and there are some rumors out there that Bored Ape may make an appearance during the halftime performance. We've got Eminem, we've got Snoop Dogg. Any comments or any predictions on, you know, if we maybe see NFTs during this year's Super Bowl?
Well, I know everybody knows that I'm very close with the Snoop Dogg compound. I will make no comments. I will say that, you know, Snoop has been very vocal that he's a supporter of the space. All of his actions have reflected that. And, you know, all I can say is Snoop is there very much in the space. And I really do expect his actions around the Super Bowl leading up to it and afterwards and, you know, to reflect that. So no comment. I do expect NFTs to definitely have their moments though. I also make a prediction right now that we will see at least one project have a Super Bowl commercial, and there will be several NFT related or crypto related commercials during the halftime show this year. Yeah. One that I've already seen, so I'm excited.
Here we go.
I'm very excited. I really do think like this is the year. Like it's at a mainstream level now, where it's you know, you open up your computer and on Hypebeast is about Bored Ape Yacht Club, or you know, the price of Ethereum is now on CNBC when you're watching like Squawk Box or something. Yeah. You know, it's hit that mainstream level. So I do expect for things that are very cultural, like the halftime show and like other things to you know, nod to that, because it's part of the world now.
Awesome.
Agreed.
Well, huntXr.eth, everyone. I dropped his Twitter handle there in the chat if you're watching live. If not, you can follow him. You can find his Twitter handle in the description for this video. Hunter, big shout out to you, and thank you again for joining us on the roadmap. This has been great to get your insights, not only to huntXr, but also into the NFT market overall. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much, Chris. Brian, great to meet you. Happy to come back anytime and be of value.
Of course, we'll have you back on. We'll bring you on some Twitter Spaces as well.
Yeah, I followed you on Twitter too, and you can always join us on a on a space. We have Spaces all the time. I'll send you a message.
Love it.
Awesome.
Well, guys, thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll talk soon. All right.
All right.
All right. Well, Brian, what a fun show that was today with huntXr.eth, huntXr, and also digging into, you know, the NFT market overall. We're out of time today. We got pre-market prep at the close coming up soon. You'll get a recap of stocks and crypto from today. Brian, our show tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern time. Joining us again on the roadmap, we have Doge Pound coming back on. They're going to talk about how they're, you know, turning into video games, right? Not just NFTs, but now getting into the gaming space. So super excited for that interview. As always, everyone, please make sure you like this video, comment, let us know what you thought, and make sure you subscribe to Benzinga's YouTube channel. Brian, as always, take care, and we will see everyone tomorrow.